Hey guys. All right. So, another case I wanted to talk about is a case that very similar to the Sandra Birchmore case came to light due to another case that was being investigated. That is the death of Stephen Smith. He was a 19-year-old openly gay man in South Carolina, and he happened to live in the same county as the Murdaughs, and he was found in the middle of a road, a rural Hampton County, South Carolina road to be exact, on July 8th of 2015. It was initially deemed a hit and run. In the summer of 2021, the SLED, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, announced it was opening an investigation into Stephen's death based on information they learned while probing the July 7th, 2021 murders of Margaret and Paul Murdaugh. Uh, so, as you know, Alex Murdaugh was convicted and sentenced to life for the death of his wife and his son. Uh, they did not release what they found about Stephen when they were investigating Murdaugh, but apparently something they found intrigued them and led them back to Stephen. Stephen's mother has said all along that uh, Stephen, it was not a hit and run, that something happened. Um, so Stephen's mother's name's Sandy. Stephen was a nursing student who had hopes of becoming a doctor. As I said, he was openly gay. The last time Sandy spoke to Stephen was on July 1st. He visited her house. As I said, he was a nursing student, and he would go from her house to his dad's house. They were separated, they lived apart. Um, and on that day, Stephen had said to her that he was going on a deep sea fishing trip. And he would be taking the trip with a prominent person in their county. He never told Sandy who it was, um, but we ended up, so that was on July 1st. He made it home to his dad's house. He texted her, told her he made it. And then on July 8th at 3:59, his body was found in the middle of the roadway, on a rural road. So patrol agents noted that there was no evidence of what you would typically find in a hit and run. There was no evidence from a vehicle. There was no debris. There was no skid marks. And the injuries were not consistent with being struck by a car. It was so significant that the original reports noted after checking the body, it appears that the victim had been shot. The consensus, a highway patrol lieutenant Thomas Moore stated, the consensus when I got there, speaking with the coroner, the first words out of his mouth is, "This is not a hit and run, this is a murder." Not long after Stephen's body was discovered, they found his car. It was pulled over on the side of the road 3 miles away with the gas cap hanging off. In all the years I've worked, a car sitting on the side of the road with the gas cap off, it's not normal. I thought it was staged, Thomas said. So, had Stephen run out of gas and decided to walk down the road in search of help, or was this truly a staged crime scene? It seems from the case file that there were more questions than answers on that July morning. Later that same morning, while the officers were still at the scene, Sandy tuned in to a local radio show on her way to work. The host said a body had been found on a rural road, and Stephen recognized the location. It was close to. Sandy recognized the location. It was close to Stephen's father's house. So I called Stephen's sister and asked her if everything was okay. And she responded, Mama, did Stephen stay with you last night? Because he didn't come home last night. And then Sandy says that that's when her stomach dropped and she knew the body that was found that she heard about on the radio was Stephen. Sandy eventually received confirmation the body found in the road was her son, and she says that was the biggest shock of her life. At 12:30 p.m., Stephen was taken in for an autopsy. Though officers initially believed Stephen had been shot due to the way his wound looked at the scene, the medical examiner performing the autopsy found no evidence of a bullet and came to a different conclusion. It is the opinion of the pathologist that the decedent died of blunt head trauma sustained in a motor vehicle crash in which the descendant was a pedestrian struck by a vehicle. The doctor wrote, in simple terms, Stephen wasn't shot, he was struck by a vehicle while walking in the road. To Sandy, that conclusion didn't sound right. She said Stephen was cautious and would have never been walking in the middle of the road so late at night. Something seemed fishy. She was determined to find out what really happened to her son. It's been reported that Stephen, instead of walking in the road, would often walk in the tree line along the road, which is why I'm assuming it didn't seem right when they said he was walking in the middle of the road to Sandy. So Hampton County Guardian says rumors started spreading in the Low Country. Everybody knows everybody. That's what he told 48 Hours about what Hampton's small town atmosphere was like. It was especially true that everyone knew the Murdaugh family. Alex Murdaugh was a prominent attorney. 3 generations of Murdaugh men had held the top prosecutor job in the circuit for nearly a century. It was natural, Sandy says, for all roads in Hampton to lead to the Murdaughs. Anything happens, the Murdaugh's name comes up, she says. Soon the name appeared in Stephen's case file. On July 17, 2015, a recorded interview indicates that the Highway Patrol was informed of a rumor circulating about Buster Murdaugh, Alex Murdaugh's oldest son. The stories the officers started hearing in follow-up interviews was that Buster had supposedly been in a car with some other boys that night when they saw Stephen in the road and struck him with an object. Various versions of this rumor had been circulating, many pointing to Buster Murdaugh's perpetrated involvement. But there was no evidence that Buster or any Murdaugh had anything to do with it. Buster himself has since contested the claims. These are baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false, he said in a statement released through his father's attorney in 2023. I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. The case file indicates that investigators made a call to Buster in 2015, but there is no record of any investigator having spoken to him. So, a little bit about the background of the Murdaughs. From what I understand, the Murdaughs pretty much controlled or owned the town that this happened in. They were a very prominent family. They had been in the prosecutor's office for years. They were prominent injury lawyers. Um, and Stephen's father happened to have Alec Murdaugh's brother as a workman's comp lawyer. The lawyer offered to investigate Stephen's death free of charge for some reason. Just came out and offered. Sandy says that at one point she was driving by the scene and saw Alex and his brother at the scene of the accident. And it often intrigued her to find out why they were there. So this case, just like the Sandra Birchmore case, has been reopened as a homicide. Stephen's body was exhumed, and they are looking for more evidence. 48 Hours has been there, and we will continue to cover a little more and more on this case. It's kind of a long investigation and still going on, but we will see what we can find. All right? Till next time. Say hi, Izzy. All right, guys. Make sure you join me later. Bye.